What's up, everybody? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about our quick stage kit for the Turbo 400. Now, what is our quick stage kit? Our quick stage kit is an internal dump valve for the Turbo 400 to help control converter feed to be able to help the engine get up on target boost when you're on the starting line. Primarily with turbo cars, supercharged cars, they struggle to get up on the starting line, and it kind of wear and tear on your engine, on the transmission, and it takes you a whole lot longer to get up to target boost and staged, then proceed to continue down the track. It is pretty important with turbo cars to be consistent with your target boost and leaving the line as soon as you take off. If you're struggling to get there, right, and you might hit target boost for a little bit, but it's bouncing around, and there could be other factors, but again, this will help you get to that target boost and be able to look at it through the data because of some of the features on this manifold here. We'll be able to help you do that with a transducer or even a manual valve, okay? Sensors, transducers, and everything else. So let me explain to you. You're familiar with the term, if you are, with these transmissions, race transmissions, an external dump valve. All that does is create a hydraulic leak in the transmission. You have your two ports, your in and out for your cooler circuit. What an external dump valve does is it bleeds off pressure off of the exhausting side to the cooler from the converter, and it dumps it right back into the pan. That does work. It is not as efficient as what we would consider an internal dump valve. And again, it's not really dumping. What it is doing is it's actually preventing fluid going to the converter for a very small amount of time. You're talking less than 3 seconds in most cases. And what that does is, just like a dump valve kind of bleeding off fluid from the converter, this is preventing it. Okay, this is stopping fluid from going to the converter. To loosen the converter, right? That's the primary goal here, is we want to loosen the converter. So we're on our trans brake, trying to get up to the two-step. We need to get that converter loose so we can get that engine to light those turbos and get up on target boost, okay? It's way more efficient because, again, we're controlling the pre-converter flow, okay? With an external dump, yes, they do work. Again, I don't feel they are that efficient, primarily for loosening the converter. In my opinion, they can start to really deteriorate your transmission the more prolonged use of them. And really, because they're taking that as much as 600 degree and possibly more. But if you're really hot lapping this thing, you got 600 degree, and especially in a race trim, 600 degree converter exhaust temperatures coming out of that fluid, going right back into your pan. Okay. Now, if you're familiar with Mark Mickey or Rossler transmissions, okay, there's not a lot out there for these. They call it an easy stage. Okay, very similar to this, but slightly different, and I'll explain to you. There's mounts here, just like ours does here. Okay, actually mounts in this configuration here. And what they're doing is they're taking mainline flow, and they are now sending it through a hose from their solenoid assembly, and they make their own manifold block, just like I do here. And they run it through a hose past the rooster plate here, the manual valve plate. A hose goes behind, in between the forward drum and the stator. So you only have about maybe that much room. And they run a hose up to here, okay? Now, the only way they can achieve that is because it's their own pump assembly, their own stator, okay? It does work phenomenally. No issue there. However, you can only get it by buying one of their transmissions. Now, Cone Racing has one. You do have to buy their pump, okay, because it's plumbed for that hose in the back of the stator. You have to buy their valve body, and I believe they use a modulator circuit or a solenoid where the modulator would go, the old modulator valve, to be able to control fluid going to it. So it does work. You just have to buy their entire system. Now, this kit that I designed here, and patent pending, what it's doing is you're able to utilize a stock case and a stock pump. Now, you can utilize an aftermarket case. Certain aftermarket cases will work. A Reed, a Jags or Summit kind of knockoff, right? Those cases there. But primarily it was designed for a stock case, stock pump, because that's what the majority of the people have. If you have like a stage 4 FTI transmission or whatever other companies out there that make those transmissions, they will technically work. Now, there's some issues here. The only valve body currently that I'm utilizing to make this work is this standard kind of trans brake manual valve body. Reverse doesn't matter, reverse patterns, whatever. All that stuff doesn't matter. What matters for this here, as well as being this is an internal trans brake and external trans brake, will work as well, okay? We want to utilize this flat surface. Okay, there are specific holes that are in this valve body here that we utilize to control fluid. All right, and I'll explain that right now, actually. So this being an ATI, TSI, they're all the same. Now, Summit and Jegs and even Speedmaster, I don't even like saying that name, but even Speedmaster has this same, it's a white label product, okay? One person makes it, they all buy it, and they put their name on it. I don't know who makes it, but this is a very standard internal trans brake manual valve body, okay? So we take this. Now, we are working with other companies. Unfortunately, FTI and Cone, the way they design theirs, their valve bodies, they look cool. Whether they're necessary or not, they don't work. Now, I can imagine taking one of their valve bodies, if you could take it to somebody and machining it down. The thickness doesn't really matter. It just has to be flat. We provide everything you need. It will work. You just have to be able to mill that down. The idea is you already have a transmission, right? Or you're looking to purchase one, okay? You're verifying that the parts are going to fit. Now, if you go on denialracing.com on our technical page, I give you all the information you need there to make the decision that what you have will work. And if not, it helps you make the decision for what to look for to purchase to make it work. We have every bit of information on the website there, denialracing.com, to verify what you have or what you need to purchase is going to work, okay? When it comes to modifying the transmission, right? Of course, I'm going to tell you, go to a trans shop, race shop, somebody who's familiar with it, trans specialist, whatever. Or a lot of people, like in my situation, before I became pretty knowledgeable on the Turbo 400, I had a lot of people. I would have to, ask my buddy who built a couple transes, race trans, come over and kind of give me a hand, right? So a lot of us in the racing industry kind of have one of, that kind of friend, right? Especially in like the no time classes and stuff like that. We're actually getting out of that, so we're doing more of an all-wheel drive kind of race specific thing. But so anyway, getting back to this, I would definitely recommend finding somebody to help you. But with that being said, I designed this kit to be able to be very user-friendly, DIY, if you will. But kind of the disclaimer is consult somebody first. If you're not too sure when you're getting through some of these steps, definitely ask somebody. But hopefully with the videos I'm putting out will help everybody understand what you need to do. Before you go drilling into even if it's your stock case, your stator, or the valve body that you have, just know that it is pretty simple, but just maybe take a second, watch the videos, read the instructions. But the whole idea is to make it simple for that racer who really probably can't afford to spend even $5,000 on a stage 4 transmission, has a stock case, stock pump. And now, in my opinion, I know specifically 2 examples of people who make 4,000 plus horsepower with a stock case, stock pump. You can challenge me on that, but I know they do. Obviously, they have a lot of billet internals, so it's completely different. But they're doing it, so it can be done. With the kit that I offer this plate here. It's 1/2 inch thick aluminum, beautifully machined, mirror finish. Okay, it has a lot of instructions on it. Go on the website, be able to see a little more specifically. Even purchase one. But it has all the instructions you need on both sides to be able to install this kit with whatever pump you have. And when I say that, I mean if it's a pump that I recommend you getting, okay, definitely check out the website, technical page on denialracing.com. It's going to answer a lot of your questions, I hope. And if not, you could definitely email me at sales@denialracing.com, or even support. I think I have to set that one up, but I believe it's sales@denialracing.com. You should be able to get set up for that. Email me and I'll be able to get back to you if you have any questions. So this plate does everything. It will pop right into the cover here. So on this side, you actually have to drill a hole into the case. All right, and the instructional video is coming out. It's going to be a lot more detailed than this. But there is an area on an 8-bolt case and aftermarket cases, okay, where you have to drill a hole right there, okay? And that goes into the number 5 cavity, okay? Number 5 cavity is up here, and here's the main cavity, okay? We're doing a couple other things, but the gist of it is you're drilling a hole into the case, and you're drilling a hole into the stator, so the stator side of the pump assembly. Here I have it highlighted in blue marker there, okay? That's the hole that you're putting in there that's not normally there. If you're wondering if your pump and stator assembly, any of that stuff there will work, go on the website. I detail every part number that will work for this specific application. And if you don't have that, there's also, we have a wear plate, or what I call a reprogramming plate, which actually is beneficial to have on your 400, because these pumps, stock pumps, are getting harder and harder to find. So if you do install them, it will save your pump. If the transmission eats itself and starts sending a bunch of garbage through the pump, it will save it. So, but this plate here does everything you need to do. Now, in the kit that you purchase, you get drill bits, you get hardware, you get set screws, instructions, as well as the link to the video, new gasket with some tips and tricks on the gasket too. That'll be more in depth in the instructional video. If you're wondering how we're doing this without a hose, okay, from this solenoid here, this is, like I said, we make this in-house. Okay, and this is a Hydroforce solenoid, so it's the cartridge and the coil itself. The Hydroforce, they're pretty dang good. I mean, a lot of people use them in the external dump valves, right? So what we're doing here is we're just taking mainline pressure, okay, and we're diverting it over to the number 5, okay? This top portion here that's not being used in 99% of the manual trans brake valve bodies. And where we drill that hole where the pump and stator assembly sit, where all the fluid patches are, we're drilling that hole in to go into the hole into the stator. So we're bringing mainline pressure into number 5, going into that cavity, right through the hole we drilled there, right through the gasket, right into the stator. And when it goes into the stator, how the pump is oriented onto the stator, we're utilizing this channel. Now, there's going to be different on your common pump, like the 895, 896 stator, but it still will work, okay? And again, more in the instructional video. We're taking fluid through this channel. Now, if you're familiar with the old switch pitch path, that is technically what this is, but this isn't the pump for it. What they do on the switch pitch path is it stops here, okay? Again, go to the technical page on the website. You'll be able to see all the information you need that will be able to answer probably a lot of your questions. If not, again, just shoot me an email. Okay, so we're sending fluid up to here. And this port here is, on the flip side, is the feed to the converter, okay? That's that little port there. That's what comes from your main pressure from your pump right here. Okay, so that area where that stops, where that channel stops, is right over here. Okay, normally this is where all your pump pressure comes in to feed the case, right here, obviously from the pump. And then it jumps over to your converter feed, which jumps through the cast iron into this tube, the stator tube, and starts to fill your converter. Well, we block that off with a set screw right there, because now we're feeding it from here. We're no longer we want to control this fluid. We're no longer having it come from the main portion right after the pump, which is fine. It doesn't matter. There's still plenty of line pressure down to that point, because we're not past any manual valves, we're not past any solenoids, we're not past anything. Okay, so we're getting the same amount of pressure. Goes right here, and now we can control the converter feed through this. Okay, now this solenoid, unlike an external dump valve, is normally closed. So it's when there's no power to it, the external dump valves are off. They're not open. Your transmission is circulating through the cooling circuit like nothing has happened. With this solenoid here that I offer, this is normally open. So even if this fails, it's still going to be flowing fluid to the converter, so you don't burn out your converter and burn out your transmission. Okay, so that's the benefit to this design as well. It will still work no matter what. If you're familiar with putting trans brakes in your 400, it has, some people have to drill the portion where the converter feed is normally, and they restrict that flow with a 120 thou hole in a 5/16 set screw. All right, so we no longer do that there. And one of the biggest reasons is it's technically permanent unless you pull your pump apart. Here, I actually machine it into this. So if you ever want to change or to take it out, or I don't think you want to restrict it anymore, but you can take it out completely or change the hole size if you want, or double check it. just by dropping the pan and then loosening or taking out the 4 bolts to hold this on, and you can easily access that. So it's a lot easier to get to. So there's a benefit there because some people, you might buy a transmission and you're not sure, right? If you buy something that has that. If you install this kit, you're taking this apart anyway and you're kind of realizing what you have, and it's a lot easier to access that here if you're trying to troubleshoot something versus it being sandwiched in between the pump and stator assemblies, and you have an engine in front of it and you cannot get it out. So that's a real nice added benefit there. As well as here we have an 1/8 inch NPT port that is drilled into the slot that feeds the converter, so that we know exactly what our converter pressure is by a transducer, sensor, manual valve. We know what that's going to be at all times, monitoring it through data. So actually on my transmission, I utilize this port with a hose to bring it out of the case to a transducer. So I know if there's any wiring issues, I'm not trying to pull the pan off to troubleshoot them. So that's a nice added benefit to this. Again, everything is in the kit, instructions in the kit. It's really nice. What I really like about it too is if you have your transmission together, yes, it has to be out of the car, but you can pull the pump off, right? But then you have your forward drum with your input shaft in it, okay? You can leave all that stuff in there. You don't have to take any of that stuff out, okay? Yes, you do have to take your valve body off, obviously, but when your forward drum is in there, okay, this doesn't interfere with it. You can actually put this in, okay? You can actually, the trick is, in which is in the video, you can actually put your stator in as well. So you put your stator in, because you have to drill a hole through your case and your stator. And you want to be able to look inside of this cavity so you don't drill too far into another channel there, which would be very bad. Okay, so this stuff will fit right over, as soon as I put it the right way. Okay, you put that on and you bolt it down. Utilize the factory bolts. You bolt everything down. Now what you have is a hole right here, okay, that you have to drill into the stator and into the case at the same time. The nice part about that is this channel, which is used for a completely different thing. This is actually for opening up a channel, just like you saw on the pump cover there, on different variations of the pump. So you just put a little tape over this. Now you're not getting any foreign debris into your transmission case. So you don't have to take the whole thing apart, which is pretty nice, okay? You don't have to install the stator. If you want to do it separately, you can, but I think it's just a lot easier aligning everything up. If you also notice here, we have engraving marks, and that's for the valve body, okay? It allows you to bolt the valve body to this fixture. The valve body is, this plate is tapped and threaded for 5/16. You can use factory bolts or supplied bolts for your valve body to this fixture plate. Okay, you bolt it down, and when you flip it over, you have the instructions on what to drill. And again, the kit comes with a drill bit and how to drill it. Okay, it's really foolproof. So you can literally, this is a 3-in-1 fixture plate that can do everything you need to do to install your kit. So all we're doing, just like the bigger companies, is controlling the flow. However, we're offering it for a stock case, stock pump at minimum, which is pretty good. And again, like I was saying, some aftermarket cases will accept that as well. There are some that are not. Look at my website, you'll see which ones will work and some not. You can make them work, but I do not advise that from my standpoint as a business owner. I don't want you hacking up another transmission more than I'm asking you to without a guarantee it's going to work. So just keep that in mind. So again, it's more geared towards stock case, stock pump, because we know these can handle the horsepower, and a lot more people have them. If you're starting out racing and you can't afford a M&M Rossler, you know, they're up there well over $10,000 without a converter. So you can achieve this. You know, my kit's only $649 plus shipping. So you can achieve what the big transmission companies have for less than $700. So, and again, there's going to be a lot more tech tips as well as instructional video coming out, just way more produced than, you know, what I have here, which you probably can't read half of it anyway. But look forward to that coming out soon. I just wanted to get this video out as more of a promotional thing as well, and a basic understanding. Okay, I tend to put out a little bit more content about this product as well. It's definitely, hopefully, there to help a lot of people who are struggling to get better data on tuning their car on the starting line. because it's going to help you tune it a whole lot better. Again, turbo cars need, in order for consistency with racing, a lot of people, if you don't know or you do know, building boosts in the line, it can vary. And then you're really trying to fight that to keep it as consistent as possible. Okay, as it climbs to target boost is not. Now the cool part about these with this solenoid here is that it's off, right? We're stopping fluid flow to the converter to get it to get up on target boost. As soon as it hits target boost, the ECU sees target boost and then turns us back on, because we don't need to start the converter anymore to keep it loose. Okay. And then when you leave the line on some of the big dog, big race cars, what they do is they still have what would be considered a 2-stage external dump, where they kind of still bleed off a little bit of exhaust converter pressure, which is kind of like the common thing out there with the external dump. So they still have them, okay, but on the big dog transmissions, they also have the internal converter feed control, like I have here, and they're then controlling a 60-foot with those 2 solenoids to kind of still bleed off a little bit of pressure, because on those big turbo cars, they need to keep the RPMs up, need to keep the turbos going. It's just kind of consistent. So definitely look it up. Go on the website, look at all the information I have on there. It's definitely helpful. It's helped a lot of people thus far. And consider this for your car. I mean, race season is going to be coming up. It's starting in certain parts, and it's really going to help you dial in your car for that 60-foot. And again, a lot of people, like no time guys, some of those guys on the track who were really kind of struggling to get to that point but can't afford a really expensive transmission, or even if they do spend $8,000 on a transmission, it's not going to have this, because nobody has this unless you have one of those higher end transmissions. So thanks for watching. Again, check out I'll have a link in the description below for the website too, and where you can purchase this or find out more information about this. And hopefully too, also I'll put an update later on in this video with the instructional video and kind of technical tips on how doing some of these things too. So please check out the website. And if you like this video, please comment. Any questions you guys have, comment on the video, like, subscribe. Really helps kind of get this content out there. Generally, really just want to help these people who are struggling with what they have and what they can afford. So thanks again for watching the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.